Before we begin sharing some of the very, very important secrets that are available to all of us on this Shabbat, I'd like to share that unlike most Shabbatot, when I have the opportunity to share with not only our community here, here in Miami, but all of our friends all over the world, it's usually I'm pretty clear about what I want to share. But on this Shabbat, I have to say that I'm quite in a quandary, because as I was preparing myself for this Shabbat and studying from the different Kabbalists, it became very clear to me that there's way too many secrets to be able to share, and I try to keep my Shabbat lecture connection for a half hour. There's no way that I'm going to be able to share everything that I want to share in only a half hour. And then I started to think, what is the best way to do this? So what I'm going to share with you now is my solution to the best way to do this. There's going to be a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of tools. And my true desire is that not only will everybody here and our friends who are streaming with us all over the world, not only will you receive hopefully some of the understanding and wisdom as we share it now, but that you truly do take the opportunity to study this. It will be on Kabbalah.com, yourself, with your teacher. What we're going to share today, as we will see, is the greatest gift ever given to humanity, of which none of us yet, even those of us who have been involved in the study of Kabbalah for years, are truly taking advantage of. And that's everything we're going to share today, is hopefully to give us both a new understanding, a deeper connection, and ability to use the most powerful tool that has ever been given to humanity. But again, unfortunately, none of us yet have completely used this tremendous gift. And the purpose of this Shabbat, and that's why I am personally very excited, because there are very few Shabbats in the year that such important light, such great light is available. So this might be a little bit long. I hope none of you mind. We only come here once every 3 years, so it's okay if we go a little bit long. And I don't feel bad about our friends who are streaming from home, because I'm assuming you're in a comfortable chair. If not, you should get into a comfortable chair. If I asked you, and usually we don't do participation, but if I asked you, when were the 72 names of God revealed to the world? By the way, feel free to yell it out. You're probably going to be wrong, but anybody want to share? Anybody want to share? When were the 72 names of God revealed? Okay. There were a few right answers, surprisingly. So, what I'd like to begin with is the story of the 72 names. And some of you might know, some of you do or don't, but if it's important to awaken this understanding on this Shabbat. One of the most ancient Kabbalistic works is called the Book of Raziel HaMalach. Those of you who know, those of you who studied from it. And the entire foundation of this teaching is a story about the creation of the world and the story of Adam. And I'd like to read, and we know there is power in these words. These were written by Adam. So therefore, the first Kabbalistic work that was given over from father to son, from the first conscious man, from Adam. And in reading the story of the beginning of the story of the 72 names will hopefully again give us a deeper connection. And more importantly, again, you can't say this enough. Every one of us here in this room and every one of our friends who are streaming, any lack that you have, be it physical or spiritual, is only because you are not yet really using the tool of the 72 names. So anything and everything that we can do to strengthen our connection, our understanding, is one of the most, but maybe the most important spiritual work that we can do. Rav Brandwein, the Rav's teacher, and the Rav would say this very often, but it's important again to awaken this understanding. The book that we are in, within which the portion of Beshalach, the portion of the splitting of the sea, using the 72 names, is in the book of Shmot. Translated as Exodus, but of course the word Shmot in the ancient Hebrew means the names. And Rav Brandwein writes, Katuv ve'ele Shemot These are the names that came with the Israelites, with Jacob and the Israelites into Egypt. Habaim lo katuv. It doesn't say that they came, meaning they were once revealed. Asher ba'u mikodem. Ela shebahem ba'im bikviut. These names are being sent down into the world all the time. I shared this a few weeks ago, but it's important to realize. We talk about Abraham, for example. We talk about Moses on this Shabbat, who was able to connect to the 72 names and create a miracle that saved millions of people. It wasn't that Moses was given a special message that nobody else was given. It's that Moses was able to access and hear the message that nobody else was able to hear. So the names, what's happening on this Shabbat, to be very clear, is that you and I, by the way, all 8 billion people in the world are getting this message on Shabbat. They're getting a connection to the foundational 72 channels by which we can draw and manifest any light and blessing that we want. But only, unfortunately, out of that message is coming down all the time, especially on the Shabbat. 8 billion people are getting this message. And tens of thousands of our friends who are coming to the connections in the centers. How many of us are going to hear it? How many of us are going to leave this Shabbat with a deeper connection to these most powerful tools ever given to humanity? That's, of course, our choice. But Eile Shemot Bnei Yisrael Habayim Mitzrayim, or Brandwein says, these names are being sent down all the time. That's why the word Habayim, the ancient word, Hebrew word, means that are constantly being brought down, being sent down to humanity. La'azor li'Yisrael, to help those who are connected to the light of the Creator. Lehinatzel miklipot, to be protected from any negativity. V'lachen katuv leman shiti ototai. And therefore, when the Creator, through Moses, says what is the purpose of the whole story of the Exodus, the whole story of Egypt, it was only for the revelation of the names, and specifically of the 72 names of God. That's the entire purpose. By the way, yes, millions of people were saved. By the way, the Israelites prepared themselves to receive what's called the light of the Torah at Sinai, the light and pathway of wisdom that can remove pain, suffering, and death. But that wasn't the real goal of Egypt. The real goal of the Exodus was leman shiti ototai ele, so that we can accept, we can receive the tool of the 72 names. Which means the only reason we were born into this world, the only reason we were born is so that we can internalize and receive the 72 names and use them as channels to be able to manifest all the great light and blessings, not only for ourselves, but for the world. Leman shiti ototai ele bekirbo. So that the 72 names, these most powerful tools to bring the light of the Creator into this world, become manifest within us. And when Brandwein ends, and this is a phrase I'd like all of us to remember, Haotiyot shel hashemot hakdoshim, the letters, the 72 names and the letters that make them up, shehem hamochin habaim la'azor latzet miyad kol mitzarim. The purpose of the 72 names as they're being sent down to us on the Shabbat is so that we can elevate with them out of any darkness and we can manifest with them any light. Leman shiti ototai ele bekirbo. The purpose of creation, the purpose of our individual creation, is to access these 72 channels and use them to come out of any darkness, any negativity, and to use them to manifest every blessing. Now a little bit about the history of the 72 names. When Adam was created, when he became conscious, the first connected and conscious human being, he received this book called the book. It has many different names, but it's often referred to as the book of Raziel the angel. Basefer HaKadosh hazeh, ba'otiyot ayin bet, a singular, the only thing that Adam was given. So we talk about Adam as a conscious person, the first person who was connected to the light of the Creator. What did he have? He had only one thing. He had a deep connection to the secret of the 72 names. ונתן למיכאל השר הגדול. And this book was given to the angel, archangel Michael, and he gave it to Adam, to Adam Rishon, the first man. ובו הערים וקרא שמות לכל בהמה, and through this connection to the 72 names, he was able to know the essence of every animal of all of nature. הבין ותרב חוכמתו. And all the wisdom Adam was not taught the wisdom, but by accessing, by internalizing the 72 names, all the wisdom of the world, all the wisdom of nature became known to him. And any person who saw Adam was filled with fear, because a person who is internally connected to the 72 names, that person, all of nature is fearful before. וכן הבין האדם שאמת הוא הספר ומאת אשר קרא בספר הזה והזכיר אותיותיו. From the moment that Adam began studying this work, this book, the 72 names, and saying the names, היה אימתו מוטלת על הכל. The fear of Adam, the light of Adam spread throughout the entire world. Again, to be clear, we're not talking about Adam, right? We're talking about us. This is where we're meant to go. By internalizing the 72 names, we are meant to be able to receive all wisdom, and we are meant to be able to rule over nature. And it goes on, by the way, if you have the opportunity to study it yourself or with your teacher, I'm not going to read through the entire story. It is very lengthy, but a little bit more. And again, he received all the channels of wisdom. And he saved this book. He knew everything that he had and everything that he was going to do was going to come from the 72 names revealed in this book that is again referred to as the book of Raziel the angel, Raziel HaMalach. But then, of course, we know he was challenged. So, of course, even somebody who's deeply connected to the light of the Creator, even somebody who's deeply connected to the secret of the 72 is going to be challenged, and Adam fell. And as he and Eve were pushed out of the Garden of Eden, what does it mean? And now we have to understand. It means that they lost their connection to the 72 names. The whole story of Adam and Eve wasn't that they were picked up by God and put outside and from one space to another. What the Kabbalists are telling us is that they were given initially the channels to access all wisdom, but then they fell in consciousness, in action, and they lost access to the 72 names. Now, what does it mean, to be clear? Does it mean they weren't able to look at the 72 names like we, unfortunately, I would say often do? No. It means that they lost the internal connection to these letters, to these channels. And I often think about the story of Adam and Eve. Now we understand it's a story of being connected to these 72 channels, the most important gift ever given to humanity, and going out, falling and leaving the garden, being kicked out of the Garden of Eden. All that means is that they lost access to the internal energy, to the shiti ototai ele bekirbo, that the 72 names were part of them. And then, of course, they became fearful. They weren't able, their light did not shine, and so on and so forth. But think about it. And again, I'm sure many of us, hopefully, when we first learned about the 72 names, there was a level of excitement, of understanding when we first began accessing it. But even, I think, unfortunately, for many of us, those of us who have been studying for 40 years, for 20 years, for 10 years, for 5 years, for 1 year, we're in that state of Adam, where yes, we can see the letters, but we're not experiencing the letters when they are not as the entire purpose of life, leman shiti ototai ele bekirbo, to make the letters a part of us. And therefore, yes, we can access them in one way or another, but not in its full power. So when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, which now we understand what that means, is that they lost access to the internal energy of the 72 names. They became fearful. All the doubts came to them. Their light stopped shining. And Adam, all he did from that moment on, he was begging the Creator to give him the zchut, to give him the merit, to be able to access again, to connect again to the light of the 72 names. Hitpalel b'sha'a shenigrash migan Eden. From the moment that he was kicked out, but he realized, where's the fear coming from? Where's the lack of manifestation coming from? It's because I've lost access. Not that I can't see the letters in front of me, but I've lost access to this most powerful tool given to me. He was begging the Creator, I can't go on in life. I know he knew what his life was supposed to be. He knew that it was supposed to be a life that fills the entire world with light, that everything that he needed, he was able to manifest. that there was no fear, there was no doubt. And he knew that the reason why now he was filled with doubt and he was filled with fear is because he had lost access, internal connection to this most powerful tool given to humanity, the 72 names. And he begged and he prayed for days. He says, "Ein pachdi u'morai al darei aretz." There's none of the animals, none of nature, nobody has any fear from me. Nigrashti hayom. And I've been sent out from this deep connection. So Adam is begging and begging. He knows what's the point of life. Again, not to speak badly of us, but, if he was living our life, he would say, there's no point to my life. I know what life is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be revealing so much light every second of every single day. I'm supposed to be manifesting without any limitation. I'm not supposed to have no fear, no doubt. And only because he understood that, and that was his true prayer and desire, after 3 days, Ba'elav Raziel HaMalach, the angel Raziel came back to him. So initially, to be clear, he received the gift of the 72 names from the angel Michael, from the angel Michael. After being kicked out of the Garden of Eden, after 3 days, he receives the gift, the connection to the 72 names again from the angel Raziel. And Raziel comes with the book. The book represents the 72 names. And he says to him, Adam, lama tamishtomem, lama titatzev. Why you should not have any more fear, you should not have any more sadness. Nishmeu dvarecha, the Creator hears your desire. And this to be clear for us. We come here on this Shabbat, and unfortunately, most of us don't come with the desire of Adam. We have to have the desire of Adam. What I'm hopefully begging for, what all of us hopefully should be begging for on this Shabbat, is to be in the state of begging to connect to these 72 names. Not to know, not to look. Leman shiti ototai ele, they need to become a part of us. Again, Adam knew what he was missing, because he had real access to them once. We don't know what we're missing because we probably haven't had access to them yet. So therefore, we'll give an understanding, again, a person who is connecting to the 72 names, meaning they are part of him or her, he or she is able to manifest anything that they want. There is no fear, there is no doubt. That's what Raziel, the angel, came and gave Adam 3 days after he was kicked out because he was begging, is what the Creator is giving to us on this Shabbat. Again, to those of us who are begging, to those of us who understand that without the connection to this most powerful tool ever given to humanity, my life is not worth what it's meant to be. Every single one of us is meant to be able to manifest limitless light, a light that shines throughout the world. But we have to have a deep and true and deepening, ever deepening and growing connection to these 72 channels that are the ways by which light manifests in our world. And if you're not begging for it on this Shabbat, of course we'll get some light, but not the Shabbat, I was going to say the Shabbat was supposed to have, not the life. Our lives, this needs to be a life-changing Shabbat. This has to be. But it begins with the state of Adam after being kicked out. That he's begging. I know what my life is supposed to be, and I know that this is the most powerful tool that I need to use. I've lost it. I can look at the words. I can understand on some level that I've lost the shiti ototai ele bekirbo, the living with, the constant connection. I'll share with you that one of the blessings that I had last night, but that one should have, is that all my dreams are about the 72 names. Because this entire week I was preparing and studying the 72 names. But again, this is, shiti ototai ele bekirbo. These 72 channels have to become a part of us, a constant part of us. And again, but it begins on the Shabbat when we beg the light of the Creator and we say, I know that I am so far from manifesting the great light of my soul in this world and all the blessings that are meant to come with that. I feel fear, I feel doubt, all of that, and I know that what I need is just as Raziel the angel came back to Adam and gave him access to the connection to the 72 names, that is what I am asking for on this Shabbat. And Raziel tells him, you with this connection to the 72 names, you will be able to know and see all the history, that all the future that's going to happen to you, prophecy for you and for your children. V'chol dorot achronim. And he says to him, Raziel tells Adam, and this light of the 72 names is going to be revealed again in the latest generations. And everybody shehinagu b'sefer hakadosh hazeh, and every person who truly connects to this book, truly connects to the 72 names, yeh yodea ma yavo b'chol chodesh v'chodesh v'chol yom u'ben layla. He or she will be filled with wisdom, with the ability to see into the future. Kol davar galui lo, and everything will be revealed to them. So this is the origin. Again, when we hear these stories, we're not talking about what happened to Adam and with the angel Michael or with the angel Raziel. We're talking about you and I. And to understand that on this Shabbat, we have to have a deep, deep, burning desire. But it has to be predicated, it has to be built upon the understanding. Yeah, we're all living spiritual lives, we'll call them. But compared to what it's supposed to be, compared to the light that we're meant to be revealing, it's not even close. And the way to truly begin our life's journey is to receive the connection, shiti ototai ele b'kibot, to receive the letters, the names within us, and we can start using them. So we begin with desire, with an understanding of how desperately we need to have a completely new relationship with the most important gift given to humanity. So I'd like to share with you, and again, as I said, each one of these points deserves a much longer explanation, but I'd like to share with you two important tools that I hope every single one of us begins using again and again and again and again until the letters, until our lives become what they're meant to become. So first, and I won't go into too much detail, I believe it was last year or the year before, I shared that there is a 72 Name of God prayer. We will have printouts for our friends here in Miami. It will be available on Kabbalah.com. For example, this is just one of the promises that the Kabbalists make. They say if a person every day that a person prays this prayer, says these words, which is 3 ancient Hebrew words based on each one of the 3 letters of the 72, on that day, nothing bad can happen. Who wouldn't want that? Right? So, this is, I'll give it to you now. Somebody said, don't worry, it's coming in a minute. It's coming in a minute. But again, as I said, it's transliterated. It'll be available to our friends here in Miami. It'll be available for all of our students on Kabbalah.com. And I strongly, strongly recommend, not simply because the Kabbalists gave us the promise that if you say this prayer every single day, it would be a day that nothing negative happens, but more importantly, because we understand that every single one of us, has to create a new relationship with these letters, with these most powerful channels given to humanity. So again, this is number one. And as I said, it deserves an hour explanation, but at a minimum, I'm asking all of us, because when I speak on Shabbat, it's my desire, of course, I study for myself, but also to give some information, wisdom to our friends. But more importantly, my desire is to awaken great light in this world. And I know for sure that if every single person, or at least we'll call it, 50% of our friends here and of our friends who are streaming with us began saying this prayer every single day, we will see great light brought into this world, not only to your own personal life. So make sure, again, I'm asking you a personal request that's for your own benefit. There's probably very few things that you can do in a day that will be as powerful as making sure you say the 72 name prayer every single day. Second tool. Because again, as I said, everything we're sharing today is just how do I make these letters, these channels, a part of myself. I was going to say my life, but of myself, my essence. The second is a meditation. And again, as I said, this is a meditation that was used by the Kabbalists for thousands of years. It was first written down by a great Kabbalist, Rabbi Abraham Abulafia. And as I was studying it, there's a book, he wrote many books about how to use the letters, and specifically the 72 names in meditation. And I remembered that there's an English translation, not of the entire book, but of the part that deals with from the book Chaye Olam Haba, from Rabbi Abraham Abulafia, how to use the 72 names as a meditation. And again, as I said, I do strongly recommend, again, those of you who of course can study it in the Hebrew, it's the book Chaye Olam Haba, but those of you who cannot, in the book Meditation and Kabbalah that we have at the centers by Aryeh Kaplan, he has on page 96, a translation from the work of Rabbi Abraham Abulafia, how to use the 72 names in meditation, and as you will see, what's supposed to happen to you. What's supposed to happen to you if you're using these tools. I'll be skipping around a little bit. As I said, this is, in Hebrew we use the term, it's a marim makom. It's really, I cannot explain all of it, but I do strongly, strongly recommend. And those of us who are serious about making our lives what it's supposed to be, it's not more than that. It's not if you want to be a deep Kabbalistic student. It's simply if you want your life to be what it's supposed to be. There are as I was going to say, there are very few things you could do in every single day than may say this prayer. Very few things you could do in your life than to deeply study this section from Rabbi Abraham Abulafia and use it. And as we will see, and it's important to understand, these meditations that the Kabbalists give us, they are not rote, meaning you have to do it exactly. And he himself even gives you a few different options. You will see, as you start using these meditations, you will see that it takes you in one way or the other. These are, what the Kabbalists give us is the doorway, the path, the beginning of the pathway of how to use these tools, and at least an understanding of where it's supposed to bring us. So I'll share a little bit in the English translation of Rabbi Abraham Abulafia, but as I said, more importantly, I really ask any person who takes their spiritual life seriously, I don't know of anything else you can do today and in this week than to truly understand this section from Rabbi Abraham Abulafia, and again, it appears in the translation in English and Meditation and Kabbalah on page 96. So he says, he gives a few, again, options. Choose a special place for yourself where your voice will not be heard by anyone else. I'll share with you something. This week, as I was preparing, I was doing this at my desk. And Monica, in New York, Monica's desk is right across from mine. And she says to me, "What are you saying?" And I remembered, but Rabbi Abraham Abulafia says, nobody should be able to hear you. So I said, but probably if Monica hears you, it's probably okay. But anyway, choose a special place for yourself where your voice will not be heard by anyone else. You remember? Yeah, okay. Meditate alone with no one else present. Sit in one place in a room. Do not reveal your secret to anyone. This is not something that one should be doing. And again, probably, and again, I do, as I was talking to some of the teachers, probably something we can do as a group if we do it, but I'm asking all of us individually is to start doing this ourselves. When you prepare yourself to speak to your Creator and your desire to witness His light, be careful to cleanse your thoughts of physicality, of this physical world. Wear clean clothing if possible. And again, to be clear, these are different options because the whole purpose of this is to begin a deepening and deeper connection to the 72 names. If it is at night, light many candles so that your eyes are well illuminated. As a result of these, and we'll share in a minute how he recommends to start saying the 72 names. But what is the result? And this is really what I want to share with you today because it's not possible in the short time that we have to go into the technical explanation of how to do this meditation. But what does the effect need to be? As a result of this, your heart will become extremely warm. You will feel, you have to feel, this is the effect of a true connection to the 72 names. You will gain new knowledge that you never learned from human traditions. The purpose of the 72 names is that you and I will begin getting wisdom that has never been revealed before. This is what's you and me, every single, not, Abraham, not Adam, not the angel, me and you. This is what the 72 names are supposed to be doing to us. Nor derived from intellectual analysis. When you experience this, you are prepared to receive the Shefa. You're prepared to receive the overwhelming flow of the light of the Creator. There is nothing that you can do, that any one of us can do, that can prepare us to receive the flow, what's called in Kabbalistic terms, the Shefa, the overwhelming flow of the light of the Creator in our lives, like the meditation of the 72 letters. And then he says, prepare your inner thoughts to see the Creator and the angels and see them in your heart as if they were human beings, as if they were beings sitting or standing around you. You are meant to come to a state where you are experiencing literally the Creator and the angels as beings surrounding you or around you. You are in their midst like a messenger whom the king and his servants wish to send on a mission. The purpose of the 72 names, and this is why, again, I don't know if everyone of us can do this every single day, but if you want to know what the right thing to do today, the best way, I was going to say the only way, but certainly the best way, is by doing the 72 name meditation and be ready to receive the mission from the Creator for your day. If you don't do this every single day, if you do it once a week, then what is my mission for this week? What is my mission in life? You are ready to hear the words of the message, whether it is from the king, meaning from the Creator, or from one of his servants, from one of his angels, from his mouth, or from the mouth of any one of them. You are prepared to receive the overflow of light of the Creator that gives you direct direction in life. After you have depicted all this, prepare your mind and heart so that your thoughts should understand the many things that come to you through the letters that your heart imagines. Again, this will be an experience of overflow of information, overflow of wisdom, overflow of connection. Again, there's a lot here important, but my purpose in sharing with this is to give us an understanding of what our 72 name connection and experience needs to be. In your mind, you will then experience the light of the Creator, and you will know that you have reached a level where you are receiving the divine Shefa, where you are receiving the divine flow of the light of the Creator. This has to be your experience. I'll share one last thing. As I said, I really please ask all of us, because not only I was going to say we need it individually, but the world needs this light, to really study this section, whether in the original Hebrew, in the translation by yourself or with your teacher, and start using it. The Kabbalists, and we'll share just the first 6 combinations, the way he prescribes it being used. And for each letter, there should be a breath. But he says after simply meditating on the first 6 combinations of the 72 names, you should already be experiencing the light of the Creator like never before. And you have to you have to say the letters with the right pronunciation, with the breath, and then you will experience the shefa, the overabundance of the light of the Creator in your life. Tool number 2. As we said, I'm asking every single one of us to study individually, to study with your teacher, the section from the Chaya Olam Haba that gives us how to make the 72 names, and again, what the experience must be. And now I'd like to share with you the proper consciousness, without which none of these tools can achieve their ultimate purpose. Most of us know that we're in the story, as we spoke last night. A week ago, the Israelites go out of Egypt. Next week, on the 7th day, the Israelites find themselves about to die. The ocean in front of them, the Egyptians behind them. Moses begins praying. What do you do? And the Rav would, I think every time we come to Beshalach, the Rav would always ask and then laugh at this very funny story, it would seem. Moses comes to the Creator, yells out, calls out praise to the Creator. The Creator says, Ma titzak elai. Why are you yelling towards me? Why? And Reb Brandwein and all the Kabbalists throughout history ask the question, of course, when you're in trouble, when you're going through a challenge, of course, you're going to call to the Creator. Why is the Creator surprised that Moses is calling out to him? The Kabbalists explain the word al-elai meant to imply, to say, alai hadavar talui. The Creator is saying, it's my problem, not yours. So you don't have to pray. What does that mean? The Israelites, you have, 1.6 million people about to die. Of course you should pray. And what does the Creator mean when He says, alai hadavar talui? It's my problem. You don't have to worry about it. He's about to die. Him and all of the Israelites are about to die. What does it mean? Alai hadavar talui. So to understand the secret of again, both of this Shabbat and the secret of the consciousness by which we need to live and by which we can use the channel of the 72 names. We go to another story that occurs next week, next Shabbat. The Israelites receive the Torah at Sinai. We know what is the secret of the Torah at Sinai. It is the first time in human history that a group, received all the light needed for the world to end pain, suffering, and death. The wisdom, the path, the connection to end pain, suffering, and death. Most of us know the story. The Israelites were excited to receive this revelation. Whatever the Creator tells us, we will listen, we will do, and we will listen. We're so excited. It was a complete, and by the way, who wouldn't be, right? If the Creator came to you and me and said, tomorrow I'm going to give you all the wisdom and all the connection that you need to bring an end to pain, suffering, and death, not only in your own life, but for the world, who wouldn't be excited? The Israelites were excited, and they accepted. They were desiring. And then something very strange happens. It says, Kafa alehem har kegigit. The Creator took the mountain and turned it almost on top of them and said, if you don't accept what I'm going to give you, you're going to die here. If somebody's willing to accept, as the Israelites were, why did there have to be this, it seems like a forcing or a threat that if they don't accept what they're about to receive, then chas v'shalom, they physically will not be alive. It seems to be a very interesting paradox between a nation, 1.6 million people desiring to receive the secrets to remove pain, suffering, and death from the world, and the Creator saying, that's not good enough that you want it. I'm going to force you to take it. What does it mean? What is the secret? So the Maharal, the great Kabbalist, explains this secret, which answers and gives us the secret of this Shabbat, but more importantly, the secret of life. In life, there are things that, not only in life, in the world, in the universe, there are things that must exist, and there are things that can exist. There are things that must exist, and there are things that can exist. There are certain things that are intrinsic to, even when a person builds a building, right? When you build a building, the foundations must exist, and they must be strong. Whether you use this roof or this carpet, that can exist. It's not fundamental to the foundation of the building. You can make any choice, right? You can't make choices about whether you put a foundation or whether you don't, because we all know if you don't put a foundation, the building, chas v'shalom, crumbles down. So in everything in life, there's what must exist, and then there's the things that can exist. That's true about our own lives, it's true about creation, it's true about building, and it's true about the universe. In the universe, there are things that can exist, there are things that must exist. The great Kabbalist, the Maharal, says, what is the secret when it says that the Creator says to you, it doesn't matter whether you want to, even though they wanted to. It doesn't matter that you're desiring to receive all these secrets and this path. You have to understand it's not a choice. This path must exist. It's not that you're saying, we'd like to have this, or we want to have it, we can have it, we will have it. If that's your connection to the spiritual wisdom, then you're not connected to the spiritual wisdom. The understanding of Sinai was that it must exist for the world. There's no choice in the world not being given a pathway towards the removal of pain, suffering, and death. And therefore, it's all fine and good that you, the Israelites, want this wisdom, want this pathway, will do the work, beautiful. That's not the point. That's not the consciousness. The consciousness is the world must have this revelation. The world must have this revelation. And this brings us back to this Shabbat. This Shabbat, as we know, there's a miracle that occurs. It says, Hayam Ra'a Vayanos. The ocean, the sea saw something and ran away, created a miracle. It was called the splitting of the sea. How do we view ourselves? This is, as I said, if you really understand this, this is it needs to be a transformational consciousness that you use all the time. How do you view yourself? How do most of us view ourselves? Do you have to exist? Or you can exist? You do exist. Most people in the world, that I was going to say most, even those of us who are spiritually awakened, but certainly most people in the world, if you ask them honestly, must you exist for the universe? No. I could exist, I could not exist. Some people make themselves not exist. The universe doesn't need me intrinsically in its foundation. I desire to live. I desire to do. I even desire to be a spiritual person. But I can. That's the wrong consciousness. The right consciousness is that from the moment the thought of creation, my light, my soul, my existence was necessary. The world cannot exist without my light. The world cannot exist. It never could have existed. It never can exist. It certainly in this moment cannot be without my light. I am intrinsic. I am to the foundation of the universe. Most of us don't think in this way, even those of us who are spiritual. We believe we can. Oh, it's important. Yeah, I'm a good person. I'm a spiritual person, so it's really good that I exist. I do good things, so it's really nice that I exist. How many of us actually believe, no, I must exist. The world cannot survive without me. From the moment of the thought of creation to the end of time, my light is intrinsic to the foundation of the universe, and then of course I must exist. What happens when you live with it? When you really have that consciousness that we have to work on. But what happens? When the Israelites came, and this was the work of Moses and the Israelites in the intervening days, he said to them, listen, you came out of darkness. There was a miracle that happened that we spoke last night, came from the Creator. But now we have to come to a new level. You have to know, he spoke to every single one of the Israelites, that you don't have a choice to exist. You do not exist because it's nice or good and good even for the world. You must exist. You must exist. When a person knows that they must exist, and that's really their consciousness and thought about themselves, then all of nature has to assist them. And anything of nature that's in their way has to run away. Because they are intrinsic to creation. They are intrinsic to the universe. It's like a person who comes into a building and wants to do construction and wants to design it anew. And he says, let me break down the foundations. Everybody around would yell, what are you doing? You can't do that. This must exist. You can change the paint, you can change the ceiling, you can change the floor. But this, the foundation, you can't touch. It must exist. When the ocean saw a group of people who knew that they must exist, Hayam Ra'av Vayanos, nature, the ocean has to let them live, has to run away from them and allow them to live because they must exist. The miracle, and this is very important, the miracle wasn't that for whatever reason they had the merit that they awakened with the 72 names, a miracle for their survival. No. It's that there was no way they weren't going to live. There was no way that all the miracles necessary, and we know there were many miracles that occurred. And by the way, this, without going to the details, this is the story of Pinchas, but any truly connected person who had limitless miracles occur in their lives was only because they knew that they must exist. And if you know you must exist, then all of nature has to either run away from you if you needed to, or support you if you needed to, because there's no other option. The Creator didn't do a miracle for the Israelites because He liked them, because they were connected, because they drew light, because He used the 72 names. No. The miracle happened for the Israelites because they knew that they must exist. And therefore everything has to happen to support whatever it is, the important work in their life that they were doing. Hayam Ra'av Vayanos, the miracle occurred, the ocean ran away because it looked at the Israelites and said, this is the foundation of the world. I cannot do anything that in any way puts that in jeopardy, puts them in jeopardy. That's the real consciousness of the Shabbat. And I want all of us to ask the question. Ask the question. Yeah, we're spiritual people. We're here. We're streaming from home. We do good things. We want to do good things. And again, I don't want to take a poll, but I wonder, if I asked every single one of us, do you really, really know that you must exist? Do you know that you are foundational to the universe? Do you know that from the first moment of the thought of creation to the end of time, the Creator saw you and said, this light is foundational. Nothing can happen to this light. It must be revealed in the world. If you answer yes, which I love to hear, then that will manifest in how you live your life, of course, right? It's not just to know it. If you know that your life is foundational to the universe, then you're doing a lot more than most of us are probably currently doing to reveal that light. Why are, again, not to disparage any of all of us spiritual people, but why are too many of us too lazy too often? Very simple answer. Because you believe that you can exist and you can reveal light. You might not do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. What difference does it make? It's just some more light. So out of the 7 days of this week, I revealed light 2 days. It's better than 0 days. I can exist. I can reveal light. Don't tell me when I can, when I shouldn't, when I have to. That's if you're living in a consciousness of I can exist. Which, again, let's be honest, on this Shabbat, most of us. If you must exist, if you are intrinsic to the fabric of the foundation of the universe, you don't have a choice anymore. The mountain is standing on top of you saying, you must exist. You don't have a choice whether you're going to reveal light today, whether you're going to connect, whether you're going to assist. You must. It goes both ways, right? It's like, oh, great. I learned from Mike on the Shabbat that I must exist, so everything's going to go well for me. No. It has to be real. It has to be true. It has to be the way you live your life. And most of us do not live our life in this consciousness. Most of us live our lives with a consciousness I can exist. And I can exist really well. And I can reveal a lot of light when I choose. Sinai, the revelation, only comes to the individual who knows the mountain's right on top of me. What does that mean? I am foundational to the fabric of the universe. And therefore I must exist. And that means that my light must be revealed. I don't have a choice today. My light must exist today, every second, tomorrow, every second, the next day, every second. That's the real life that must exist. Of course, the benefit of that is what we learn on the Shabbat. If you must exist, nothing can stop you. You have to have the consciousness. You have to live your life with that truth. No choice. You know, we're making choices every day, right? Am I going to share? Am I not going to share? Am I going to connect? Am I not going to connect? And that's nice for those of us who want to live in the can exist. Limited miracles, limited light. What this Shabbat is about, and all the miracles that manifest from it, and the only way that we can actually access the light that we spoke before about the 72 names, is if we truly do the work on the Shabbat and start living a life with the understanding, I must exist. My light must exist. Start with that consciousness and live based on that truth. No choices anymore. I don't have a choice. My light must exist. My light must be revealed. And then the third step, of course, Hayam Ra'av Vayanos, all miracles will have to happen for me because I must exist. My light must be revealed. Nothing can possibly stop it, neither physical or otherwise. This light must be revealed. And I'm telling you, and this isn't easy work. This won't happen just because you heard a lecture on a Shabbat. But if you really begin working on this consciousness and reminding yourself every single day, 10 times a day, I don't have a choice. The universe doesn't have a choice. I and my light must exist and must be revealed. You will see the miracles that manifest after that. The Hayam Ra'av Vayanos. Because when an individual truly knows that they must exist and lives their lives and makes their decisions in life based on that consciousness, all the miracles and all the support come to them. Come to them. So as we said, it was not a short lecture. It wasn't too long. I do really hope, as I said, this happens once a year. This happens once a year. All the light that we spoke about, and I really ask again to remind us, to start using the 72 names, and as we said, with the consciousness. None of our friends who are streaming have a choice anymore about whether we deepen our connection to this most powerful tool given to humanity, because we must do it. And B'ezrat Hashem, we will, all of us collectively and individually, will start using these tools that we spoke about. Make sure you watch this lecture again on Kabbalah.com, even if you're here with us or streaming, and start using these tools, and you will see the transformation. Shabbat Shalom.